Chapter 1. The Illusion of the Observer. Who is watching? Have you ever sat still, trying to follow your breath, only to suddenly feel like someone is watching inside your own mind? What if the one asking, "Who's watching?" is actually part of the illusion itself? And what if, just like a shadow disappearing at noon, the self you think is observing was never really there? You sit down to meditate. The world quiets. You close your eyes and begin to follow your breath, gently tracing the rise and fall of each inhale, each exhale. At first, it seems simple, but then, from the silence, a curious question arises. Who is watching my breath? It sounds like a profound inquiry, a doorway into something deep and spiritual. But in the teachings of the Buddha, this question reveals something unexpected, because sometimes the illusion that feels most real is the one that's doing the asking. You see, the Buddha never taught that there is a little person, a me, sitting inside your head, monitoring every thought, controlling every emotion, deciding each step. Yet, the language we use makes it feel that way. Every time we say, "I'm thinking," it suggests there must be a thinker, a hidden self who owns the thoughts, a quiet I behind the scenes, pulling the strings, making decisions, directing attention. But is that how the mind truly works? Buddhism invites us to look closer, much closer. The Buddha pointed directly to this illusion again and again. He said, "Thinking arises, but no thinker is found." In other words, thoughts appear, like ripples on a pond or wind sweeping through a field, but there is no separate entity creating them, no hidden puppet master. There is only thinking. Then it passes. And even modern science echoes this view. Neuroscientists have identified what they call the default mode network, a part of the brain that activates when we're lost in thought, telling stories about ourselves, recalling memories, imagining the future. This network creates the feeling of a continuous self. But when scientists scan the brain, they don't find a soul or a thinker. They find patterns, neural circuits, electrical signals, activity, but no I. Just as the Buddha said, all phenomena are ownerless. Nothing belongs to a self, not even awareness. But here's where it gets tricky. Because even though awareness seems to be present, you are aware right now, aren't you? It still doesn't mean there's someone behind it all. You can hear this voice. You know what you're feeling. It feels like someone is there. And that's the heart of the illusion. To help people see through this, the Buddha often used images rather than abstract theories. One of the most powerful? The mirror. A mirror reflects everything that passes in front of it. Your face, the sky, a passing bird. But it doesn't hold anything. It doesn't say, "That's my reflection." It just reflects, effortlessly, without attachment. Awareness is like that. It notices thoughts, feelings, sensations, but it doesn't claim them. It doesn't say, "This is mine." It simply reflects whatever appears and lets it go. In Zen, there's a famous koan that asks, if you drop the I, what's left? Not an answer, not an explanation, just the sound of the breeze through the trees, the rhythm of your breath, the raw, immediate presence of this very moment. No watcher, no inner commander, no self sitting at the center. But if that's true, why does it still feel like someone is watching? That's the mystery we must now explore. Not just by thinking about it, but by directly observing how this illusion arises moment by moment. Only then can the spell begin to break. Chapter 2. Layers of Awareness, the mind's greatest illusion. Previously, we began to see that the watcher behind our thoughts may not be real at all, just another illusion, dressed in calm observation. But that illusion runs deeper than we might think. You feel a sharp, sudden heat rise in your chest. Your hands tighten into fists. Maybe your jaw clenches. Your voice rises. A thought flares up. I'm angry. It feels obvious, so automatic that we barely question it. Of course you're angry, right? But pause for a moment. Is anger truly a solid thing? Or is it more like a shifting storm, a mix of sensations and mental flashes? The Buddha taught that what we label as anger is not a fixed object. It's a process, a swirling combination of elements: heat, tension, clenched muscles, racing thoughts. These are not owned by a permanent self. They're conditions, interacting, and modern science seems to echo this. When you're angry, your body reacts. Cortisol surges into your blood, your heart pounds faster, your brain's threat detection lights up like a fire alarm. But even in that cascade, there's no master controller at the center pulling the levers. It's like a match being struck. The flame appears because the conditions are just right. But there's no hidden hand commanding it to burn. Yet, something else soon emerges. After the initial reaction, a second layer appears. I know I'm angry. This new voice feels quieter, more reflective, more in control. Many call this awareness, the part of us that seems to observe without getting swept away. But are we truly outside the anger now? Are we really standing apart from it? The Buddha would say, not quite. That second voice, the I that knows, is just another thought, a finer ripple in the mind. It feels like a higher perspective, but it's still part of the same current. The mind labels the emotion, adds commentary, and then believes it has discovered a stable observer behind it all. But even that knowing is conditioned. It too arises. It too passes. It too isn't you. René Descartes once said, I think, therefore I am. But the Buddha might gently offer a deeper question. Who is thinking? Instead of assuming a thinker behind each thought, Buddhism invites us to take a closer look, to directly observe how thoughts emerge based on contact, memory, habit. No thinker needed, no central self required, just arising and fading. And then comes the third layer, the most deceptive one of all. A subtle inner whisper says, I am watching myself get angry. This voice feels still, detached, even spiritual. Many seekers stop here, believing they've uncovered the true self, the silent witness, the unshakable presence. But the Buddha pointed even deeper. Even this peaceful observer is a construction. It appears still, but it shifts. It seems solid, but it dissolves. In the Abhidhamma, Buddhist psychology breaks down the stream of experience to micro-moments. Every mental event leads to another, vanishes, and gives rise to the next. That serene observer? Just the latest ripple in the flow, a wave thinking it is the sea. Like all waves, some crash with fury, others lap gently at the shore. But none have a captain, no pilot, just water moved by wind, gravity, the pull of the moon. In the same way, awareness is shaped by what we see, hear, want, or fear. And what we call self is just another moment, fleeting, conditioned, and mistaken for something fixed and lasting. And yet, the illusion persists. Even when we no longer cling to the anger, we start clinging to the one who notices it. We let go of the fire, but grasp the one holding the flashlight. We don't want to lose the observer, the one behind the curtain, the calm center we've come to trust. But what if that too was just another clever trick of the mind. The Buddha never asked us to take his word. He gave us tools to see for ourselves, a way to observe moment by moment. This is a sensation. This is a thought about the sensation. This is awareness of the thought. And then to gently ask, who knows this? And wait. If we're honest, something unexpected happens. The question dissolves, and no one answers. Only silence, only space, only awareness, without a name. That's why these layers are so subtle. Each one feels like progress, feels like insight. But unless we see clearly, we simply climb from one illusion to the next, each more refined, more believable. The mind is like an onion. Peel away one layer, and there's another. Peel again, and another. But at the center, there's no core, just openness. Just the space where identity once hid. And strangely, this isn't frightening. It's freeing. Because when there's no one to protect, there's nothing to defend, only the natural unfolding of experience, seen clearly, without ownership. Still, the illusion doesn't give up so easily, because the mind still has a few tricks left. Quiet ones, deep ones, ancient and hidden. Chapter 3. The Mind's Invisible Traps. Why we cling to a self. In the last chapter, we saw how awareness itself, the so-called observer, is not a fixed truth, but yet another ripple in the stream of mind. And now we go deeper into the hidden machinery that keeps this illusion alive. The mind is a brilliant illusionist. It doesn't need smoke. It doesn't need mirrors. All it needs is time, memory, and a few carefully placed words. From these raw ingredients, it spins something we grasp more tightly than anything else, a sense of self. And here's the trick. It doesn't ask for permission. This illusion doesn't begin with a dramatic announcement. It starts quietly, behind the curtain of conscious thought. While you're busy reacting to the world, to noise, to joy, to pain, the mind is silently weaving those reactions into a narrative. Not just any story, your story. A story where you are always the central character, the one rising and falling, succeeding and failing, feeling joy or being crushed by confusion. This character keeps showing up again and again, so often, in fact, that we forget. It's only a role, a reflection, a construction. The Buddha warned us, this appearance of a central self is among the mind's most convincing illusions. Modern neuroscience has reached a strikingly similar view. The brain records experiences like film frames, isolated moments one after another. Each moment is still, unmoving, but when you string them together at high speed, it looks like a person walking, laughing, growing, aging. A self seems to appear, but look closer. Each frame vanishes as quickly as it comes, and the self you thought you saw, it's just a flickering sequence, an ongoing montage stitched together by memory and habit. This is the first trap, the storyteller trap. The Buddha never denied the story exists. It does. You do remember things. You do feel emotions. But he reminded us of something essential. Just because a story is happening doesn't mean it belongs to anyone. Just because it's coherent doesn't mean it's real in the way we believe. The story is not who we are. It's simply what arises, built by causes like memory, language, desire, and repetition. But there's a second trap, and it's even more subtle. It hides inside the very words we use every day. Think about when you say, "I'm angry," or "I'm sad." Sounds simple, right? But underneath those everyday phrases lies a quiet assumption that there's a fixed I, someone inside who owns that emotion, that there's a self behind the sadness, a self suffering the anger. But the Buddha offered a small, powerful shift. Try saying, anger is present, or sadness has arisen. The change is subtle in language, but vast in experience. You still feel the emotion, but you no longer claim it. You stop building a self around it. You start seeing it for what it really is, a moment, a process, not a possession. In one sutta, the Buddha gently advises, don't say, I am suffering. Just recognize there is suffering. This teaching may seem small, but it opens a door. It releases you from the habit of taking everything so personally. It helps you see that pain doesn't need to belong to anyone to be felt. It simply arises and passes like a breeze through an open window. Even language, then, becomes a trap, soft, familiar, and misleading. It quietly inserts a center into experience, even when none exists. But the most invisible trap of all, the one that deceives even experienced meditators, is the hope. A subtle hope that behind all this, behind all the change and chaos, there's someone stable, someone pure, a silent watcher untouched by the storm. That idea comforts us. It feels like a refuge, a sacred center in the hurricane of life. But it too is just another form, another construction, another trap. Even long-time practitioners fall into it. Watching their thoughts come and go, they softly whisper to themselves, "Ah, I am the watcher." But the Buddha pointed right at it. That watcher is just another event, another thought, another conditioned moment. No matter how calm or peaceful it feels, it too is not a self. Zen gives us a blunt warning here. If you meet the Buddha on the road, kill him. Of course, it's not about violence, it's about letting go of ideas, even beautiful ones, even ideas about awakening, even the idea of the Buddha if it becomes just another concept to hold on to. The Buddha didn't leave us with vague riddles. He left us with clarity. He taught that all we cling to, stories, emotions, words, even the silent watcher, all of it arises due to causes and conditions. None of it stands on its own. None of it belongs to a self. None of it lasts. So perhaps the question is no longer, who am I? But rather, why do we keep asking? What are we afraid to lose? What are we secretly trying to protect? And when even those questions dissolve, what remains? Chapter 4. The Final Truth. There's no one watching. In the last chapter, we asked, why do we keep clinging to a self? What are we so afraid to lose? And now we arrive at the deepest layer, the quiet truth that's been hidden in plain sight all along. You sit in silence. The breath moves gently. Thoughts rise, swirl, then fade, and suddenly a question appears, like a whisper from nowhere. Who is noticing all this? It feels profound, as if that question is a door to something ultimate, a gateway into truth. But pause. Look closely. That question, it's just another ripple, just another thought passing through the stillness. Not a key, not a path, just another wave. So when the ripples settle, what's left? Surprisingly, not emptiness, but something much more alive than that. Stillness, openness, spaciousness, a gentle awareness that needs nothing to exist. It doesn't grasp, it doesn't cling. It simply is. The Buddha described two kinds of self that people often confuse. The first one is easy to spot. It's the familiar inner voice. I'm watching. I'm aware. I'm free now. It sounds wise, peaceful, even spiritual, but this too is just thought, a formation of memory shaped by language and past experience. This first self is like a cloud drifting through the sky. It seems stable for a moment, but soon it dissolves. It arises and vanishes, just like every feeling or idea. The Buddha never judged this first self as evil or bad. He simply pointed out with clarity and compassion that it's not real in the way we assume. Then comes the second self, and this one is harder to describe. Not because it's hidden, but because it's not really a self at all. It's the seeing, the direct recognition that the first self was only a thought. It's the awareness that doesn't grasp at being aware. It doesn't declare itself. It doesn't announce, "I'm pure awareness." It simply reflects without ownership. And when this insight arises, something subtle but irreversible shifts. The game is over. You no longer ask, "Who am I?" because the question itself no longer fits. The Buddha called this dependent arising. He taught that all things, including the sense of me, arise based on conditions. When you really look, there's no little person behind your eyes, no captain steering the ship, only patterns, only movement, only life unfolding moment by moment, no fixed center, no soul behind the curtain, just unfolding. And when you stop searching for a permanent self, a quiet peace begins to emerge. Why? Because the entire struggle to define yourself, defend yourself, protect some imagined identity begins to dissolve. Next time you sit quietly, try this. Ask, "Who is aware?" But don't answer. Just notice how that question appears, like any other thought. Watch it. Then notice the silence that came before it, the stillness it arose from. Rest in that, not as someone resting, just resting. Even neuroscience supports this. Studies show that when people enter deep, spacious states of presence, when they stop clinging to a defined me, a specific part of the brain called the default mode network begins to quiet down. That's the very region responsible for constructing the narrative self, the inner storyteller. When that network softens, the body relaxes, the mind becomes light, and something wordless appears. But don't worry, living this way doesn't mean forgetting your name or ignoring the world. You still brush your teeth. You still call your mother. You still pay your taxes. What changes is your relationship to thoughts and emotions. Stress still arises, but now you see it clearly. You don't ask, "Why is this happening to me?" You simply notice, "This is happening, but it's not mine." It's like the sky watching a thunderstorm. The sky doesn't get wet. The storm passes. The sky remains. Awareness is like that. It doesn't belong to anyone. It doesn't try to control. It just sees. Not you watching, just watching. That's why the Buddha compared his teachings to a raft to cross the river, not something to carry on your back forever. Even the most refined idea of a pure self or enlightened self must eventually be let go. The teachings are tools, but once the other shore is reached, let the raft drift away. And when the mind, once again, whispers, "But who am I?" you may smile gently, because that question too is just another ripple, just a conditioned thought, passing, dissolving. There's no one watching, just watching. And somehow, that's enough. That's peace. That's freedom. If this message touched something inside you, consider supporting this journey of insight. Like the video, subscribe to the channel Buddhism Seeds, and share this with someone on the same path. And if you feel inspired, leave a comment below. Sometimes, the quietest realizations begin with just a few shared words.